We now start with the second track, which is the technology track. The first session of the technology tracks is re-architecting data center and cloud infrastructure with 5G. 5G and industry are going to be inseparable in the near future. Be it enterprise business, data center, everything is on cloud for smoother performance, 100% uptime and business continuity. I would like to call upon Sudhir Kundar, Country Director, DECIX, Interwire India, Dr. Saeed Pirzadeh, Executive Vice President and Chief Cloud Officer, Jota Infrastructure, Vinay Jain, Director, Regional Sales, Service Provider, Architecture, Cisco India, Himanshu Gupta, Country Manager, Telecom Media and Entertainment, HPE India, and the session will be moderated by Sunil Rajguru, Editor, DataQuest and PC Quest. Over to you, Sunil.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the panel discussion titled Re-Architecting Data Center and Cloud Infrastructure with 5G. I would like to thank all the panelists for joining here, and I look forward to a very lively debate. Now, all of you are subject matter experts, and before I come to your area of expertise, I'd like to first, start with an open question, and any of you can answer in any order. So, in brief, how soon do you think 5G will come in India? And more importantly, how fast after that can the telecom system upgrade to that? Because 5G is not like 2G, 3G, 4G. Because 5G is going to encompass everything in smart cities, smart cars, everywhere. So I think in this particular case, the system upgrade will be important. So if you can just answer that in any order.
Is it okay if I go first?
Yeah, please go first.
Okay, great. So I think we have been constantly exploring the evolution to 5G with all the service providers and various enterprises as well as the verticals. There are a lot of proven use cases across the globe because 5G has happened elsewhere. People are already taking benefit of things which get enabled through 5G. So there is a compelling event for 5G to really get kickstarted in India as soon as possible. Obviously, the prerequisite for that is the spectrum auction, and hopefully based on the recent announcements, government goes ahead and does the auctions. Parallelly, what operators are doing or industry is doing is they're already readying their infrastructure for all the refresh, etc. Is getting ready for 5G launch, right? So they've already realized there'll be a lot of transformation which will be required at different layers of the network, which and they're already kind of in the advanced journey of refreshing those layers to be ready for a quick launch of 5G. Now, how quickly? That kind of addresses the readiness from operators' point of view. Obviously, there are a lot of use cases, like the industry verticals is the most attractive area where everybody is eyeing a very huge pie of new set of businesses which will get enabled through 5G. So I think, yeah, we're all kind of aligned for a quick adoption of 5G.
Correct. As Vinay said, yes, yeah. Of course, everybody is waiting because there are lots of technology enhancements are going to happen. Lots of disruptions. I guess are going to happen in the tech industry as well, because lots of things like for us as a data center industry, we need to be prepared for our edge sites and enhance our cloud capabilities so that we can cater the the data flow which we expect from the 5G. So I may not able to comment when telecom operators will be ready, but my guess is from 6 months to a year, we see 5G revolution in India. That's my assessment.
I think I would resonate what Dr. Saab has said, because the first offtake at only 37% makes you a little bit tentative on how the next part of the spectrum auction would go. And I sincerely hope and pray that we have innovation and great market sense prevailing when the government comes in with the second round of offering, number one. And the kind of digital transformation journeys that we've envisaged for our customers, or we see a lot of verticalization that will take businesses to the next level, will only be possible once the entire rollout happens. And my take is that probably in the range of about 3/4 plus is when we see the first few steps being taken. And of course, all other things being equal, year doesn't seem to be a far off kind of a thing. But once it comes in, I'm sure we'll have an entirely different ball game as far as the entire tech space is concerned.
Hi, this is Himanshu. Very warm welcome to all the panelists. I believe the deployment of 5G in India will at least be a year away. It all depends on how the government auctions the spectrum at what time, and most likely it is going to happen by June to July. That's what we have heard, and we hope that this time they stick to the schedules. And post that, I think then it will be all about companies gearing up and start deploying their initial trials on the field. Now, if I go back, 5G was maybe started somewhere in July 2016, and by I think 2019, the operators started rolling across the globe. But if you look back, what happened to 2G and 3G? India were laggards by almost 10 years in 2G, and I guess in 3G. And we're almost 2 to 4 years in 4G. But if you look at what has happened in the last 3 years, I think we'll be maybe laggards by the 3 to 4 years for 5G, but it'll still be a great start, because I don't think this 3G to 4G and 4G now to 5G is another G shift. It's a quantum leap. And we believe that this is a technology shift which will give immense opportunity for the entire market, for the businesses and for operators to come and build an ecosystem very collaboratively and build some very unique and radical use cases in the market. Now, if you look at how it's going to evolve in the country, I think the initial deployments will be around the EMBB, which is around enhanced mobile broadband, because that is the easiest to do. We'll have to simply give the higher bandwidths and give higher experience and more data throughput given density. But the other two use cases primarily, which is around the UR LLC and your massive IoT communications, that is something which will still be phase 2 and 3. So the evolution in the country will be around EMBB, and I think it will give the operators the time and the I would say commercial leverage to smoothen out the execution, because it is going to be quite capex heavy, and with a phased out approach and the learnings they will have from within the country and from outside the globe, I think that will ease out the journey on the 5G. Apart from that, I think it will be at least 2 to 3 years when you will have ubiquitous, say, urban and then also potential rural coverage. So it is going to be a phased-wide approach in the country. And if you see the trials coming, inputs coming from, say, Vodafone or Bharti, even Reliance, a lot of trials are happening for different use cases, but that is not something that everything will be implemented from day one. And if we look at the past year trends, I think next 4 years by 2026, we should be in a position to have at least 400 active million subscribers in the country, which will be close to 30-35% of our installed base of active subscribers by that time coming onto 5G bandwagon, and which will be at least 20% of the country's connections, which will be 5G connections. So that is where I see the companies evolving and telecom ecosystem evolving. Along with that, I also feel OSS and basis stacks need to be evolved in the companies, because that is where they will be able to monetize everything on the go, on the fly. And that's another area I think the telco operators especially will have to look very, very diligently. So that's how I look at it.
Manu, thank you for that introduction. So I guess we have really been waiting too long, but now there's a sense of an inevitability and a roadmap in front of us. So we have our work cut out. So I think now I'll just ask about everyone's individual, area of expertise. So I'll start with you, Dr. Saeed Pirzadeh, Executive Vice President and Chief Cloud Officer, Yotta Infrastructure. Now you talked about, disruption and edge in your beginning intro. So, I mean, edge computing is the next big thing, and that will be a disruptor. So what can we expect from the advent of edge computing due to 5G's adoption in the area of data centers and the cloud?
Yes, indeed. I am very excited considering the growing adoption of IoT use cases, Industry 4 initiatives, or you can say penetration of internet services and online platforms like OTT, e-commerce, or you can say online education. These are some of the major factors which I consider will drive edge requirements going forward. It's not like that these use cases are not here, but more enhancement or more better user experience will I'll expect once the edge revolution comes into place. With the government announcement of rolling out 5G by 20 to 23, that's what they are saying. These use cases, I suppose, will receive tremendous boost. Okay, while we are already witnessing widespread application on all of these fields, but 5G is definitely going to feel and will be a catalyst for edge computing by multi-cloud approach for any organizations considered. Indeed, this presents a huge opportunity for data centers, okay, and the cloud service providers per se, to increase their investments in building strong edge data centers. Indeed, everyone should have a better data center, edge data center footprints across India, so that we can all use the 5G technology to the fullest. We have the opportunity indeed to further strengthen our data center and cloud offerings by extending them to more, you can say, regions across India, including tier 2 or tier 3 cities. That presents a huge appetite on digital consumptions. I think that's what the largely deserved outcome of 5G. Let me also share with you that Yota is doing in these aspects and what we are, which are these steps we are taking. We have a robust cloud offerings called Yota Enterprise Cloud. We are now taking this to various regions, pan-India, through our extension of data centers across Maharashtra, Greater Noida, Tamil Nadu, Gujarat, and West Bengal as well. We are introducing a South availability zone very recently for the Yota Enterprise Cloud. And of course, we have probably, you must have been heard in the news, we are building around 100 edge data centers throughout India, including tier 2 and tier 3 cities as well, which will ensure that our services will reach the last mile and bring digital closer to all.
So thank you for that. Like you mentioned, like digital consumption. So yeah, the digital consumption is going to skyrocket. So it is good that all the infrastructure is being put into place. Now, I'd like to now ask a question to Sudhir Kunder, Country Director, DECIX Interwire India. Now, again, in your introduction, you talked that this will take businesses to the next level, and it's a different ball game. So another, interesting is hyperscaling. Any thoughts on how hyperscalers will deal with the new phase of technology? And more importantly, I mean, most of our like data centers are out. We need make in India. Can India become a global data center hub?
Yeah, I mean, the second part of the question is very close to my heart because I've been fortunate enough to see the hockey stick curve that has been there in this industry for the past 2 years. And by virtue of this role that has been offered to me by the organization, I've been able to have discussions with both Indian organizations like Dr. Saab's, as well as a lot of multinationals who look at India as the place to be for sure. And I remember one of my conversations with a journalist in October where I told him that, Chennai will become the next El Dorado for our industry, typically because of the fact that there is a moratorium happening around Singapore. And that is also one of the great pieces which will help Chennai evolve other than the Bombay piece. So if you look at it holistically, the role of data centers specifically has never been more important and never been more realized and felt than it has been in the last 2 years of the pandemic. And a complete testament to the whole fact would be that the industry is growing at a CAGR of about 21% as of now. And from 2021 or 20, sorry, wherein we were probably at a 380 odd megawatt capacity, we would see the capacities going up to about 1100 megawatt by 2025. And if you look at the investments that will come in, Mumbai and Chennai will garner about 70 odd % of the investments that come in due to various factors that are in favor of these two geographies. But as Dr. rightly said, there is a lot of business that is going to happen in the hinterlands, and that is where this shift will also be visible for us. By 26, we feel we should see overall invested USD about $8 billion is what we see India to be in. And we've been fortunate enough to witness on our own platform the kind of growth that we've seen in traffic in the last 2 years. Just to put things in perspective, for OTT, you see a 25-15% growth, or a CDN, we've seen 1735% growth, or a gaming, which gives us about 2000 odd % growth in the last 2 years. In a country of 830 million internet users, 65% of OTT consumption happens in the non-metro areas. And if you see what has happened in terms of consumption, Dr. will agree that 2018 Reliance was the only one which had OTT streaming happening, and they were like a monopoly across India. And end of 2021, you have 46 OTT players doing brisk business in India. So that's the scale of hockey curves that we've been seeing across industries. And hence we feel that overall, there were a couple of areas where, exuberance came into our minds also. One, as rightly said, 5G will bring in its own set of adoption. And our understanding is that very soon, unlike earlier days, adoption will be faster, and on a daily basis over a period of time, in a couple of years, you'll see about 125,000 odd devices getting connected to the machines amongst each other very soon. The rack power density is the second piece which we've seen great action on. Third, but not to forget, the government's own initiative of making Bharat digital. And with the digitalization of the country, we've also seen the right kind of steps that they have taken in terms of encouraging the industry to go wide and deep as well. Cloud adoption happens to be the next big accelerator for our exuberance towards seeing why is it that we believe that, yes, initially in the APAC region and then globally also, India will be the destination for the data center space. Coming to hyperscalers, if you see 2016 onwards globally, we've seen the capacity or the participants doubling up actually. And this upturn in the hyperscale activity will transfer to an increase in overall cloud companies also turning to providers for co-location and build to suit, as well as they'll build on their own. So today, we observe that organizations, especially there's a lot of R&D that DKIX Germany does, and we see organizations need a new interconnection service regime tailored for their needs, where they would look at technologies like IoT, AI, and 5G. And one has to depend on other to get the maximum bang for the buck when it comes to the entire solutioning part of it. So we see this change in speed happening worldwide. And at DKIX, we call it as a digital triangle of IoT, AI, and 5G. So when you see the use cases being discussed via verticalization over there, our learning curves are going to be pretty shorter than what it was earlier. You will see connected cars happening today. I mean, if you look at the Mahindra XUV today and imagine if somebody would have told you the same thing 5 years back, we would have said that this guy is actually dreaming, So that part of M&D typically will skyrocket in terms of adoption when these three things fall into place, along with verticals like pharma, education, as Dr. rightly said, and a couple of other industry verticals. Interconnection, I feel, will play a critical component here, and hence it will be the one that will be able to orchestrate all other things that fall around it in terms of the heart, brain, and hand, as I said earlier. While what will be happening is more and more persuasiveness will come in because of the interconnectivity there. Enterprises, we know, are already connecting up, but government also we've seen now wanting to connect up with this. So latency is becoming the new currency today. This will eventually become a cascading effect, and we see the hyperscalers actually making hay while the sun shines, being right place at the right time. And very soon we see a 15 million square feet area kind of a setup happening around in India with these folks. Eventually, when a customer comes in to a data center, while he does the tick marks against the standard line items that he has, he would also want to know how thickly are you connected as a data center, and also do you have the ability to connect up with internet exchange, cloud exchange, and multi-services provisioning at the same time. So they come with a project, and they would want, the customer would come in with a project and they would want a 1G cloud connect scaling up to 10G within the next 24 to 48 hours. And then within a month, they'll again want to come down to 3. So these are the kind of use cases that we've seen. And if you don't have other component, but have land, building, cooling, manpower, and there is no data, then there is no data center. So typically, if you see, it will play a critical role in the entire evolution of the next growth path that we see. When you come to a hyperscaler, the customer will also seek to lower his latencies and push the services ever closer to the populations where the consumers are. So secondary markets, as it is already being discussed, will then see significant expansion. And we are already seeing action around in cities like Pune, Ahmedabad, and a couple of other places which we never thought will be eventually thought of. And that's great to see, because eventually we would want to see Bharat also being equally connected as much as we today want to see India being connected, So the gap between the Bharat connectivity and the India connectivity will definitely be brought down. With currently we are looking at about 260,000 villages being connected on our broadband, and the headroom is about 6 lakh villages to be connected. So that's the next piece that we see. The most encouraging factor I find is, with less legacy infrastructure that the companies today have, it will give them the ability to leapfrog our friends from the US and Europe and integrate new technologies into the space and not be at a disadvantage what we were probably a couple of years back. So that's about it from my side. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sudhir. So I like that. I mean, when you talk of hyperscaling, India won't hyperscale, Bharat will hyperscale. So really looking forward to that. So my next question is for Himanshu Gupta, Country Manager, Telecom, Media and Entertainment, HPE India. Now, you also initially you talked of, like a quantum leap and all. I'm sure a quantum leap will happen in the enterprise space. So specifically, I'd like to know what kind of ultra low latency applications can Indian enterprises start exploring first? And apart from that, what other changes can we expect in the enterprise space as a result of all of the above changes? Of course, you can also mention what specifically HPE is also doing.
Thank you for that question. I think it's a very relevant question. But as I said earlier, the first phase of development in the 5G use cases will revolve around EMBB. But URLCC is extremely important. Just to demystify what it is, 5G ultra reliable low latency communication service makes it possible to support use cases that require very high reliability and extremely low latency. Now that translates to something like less than 1 millisecond that air transit time for that, or maybe end-to-end hop between the user device and the eNode B in 5G to be around 5 milliseconds. That's the end-to-end time. So it's an extremely demanding service. And the availabilities are in the range of, say, more than 6 to 7 nines. So 99.9999 and that, like that, likes of that. So the they're used basically in very mission critical environments. For example, the most and the first which comes to our mind is, healthcare industry. And I would see that one of the first use cases will develop around the healthcare industry, while others around, cloud gaming, intelligent transportation, then, military grade deployments, then coming to even your, industrial automation, robotics, all those spaces will definitely be the next in the line, because industry 4.0 is where, 5G will actually play a major role. And how the factory shop floors will leverage 5G's, high availability and the so-called extremely low latency will be the next level of automation in the industry. Now, if you look at what India has done, I think the basic tenet of 5G is about ecosystem development. So the combination of 5G, the combination of AI, the combination of IoT and the smart platforms, this is what is going to benefit the entire gamut of consumers, even enterprises and society at large. All these use cases will actually come from, putting this ecosystem together. And, obviously different verticals will leverage one or the other, but all of them are important for the overall development. Now, Indian government, I think in their policy for 5G support, they also very clearly articulated that 5G technology has a potential for ushering a major societal transformation. Now, by establishing a rapid expansion of the role of IT across manufacturing, education, financial services, healthcare, as well as agriculture. So they're very, very clear. And what they're doing around it, they're basically trying to invest $100 billion under the Indian National Digital Communications Policy, we call it NDCP. And their vision is to basically get India's digital infrastructure and support reach to the next $1 trillion as part of the digital services overall plan. We call it Digital India Plan. Now, coming back to how these URLCC cases can be made more relevant and what we can expect the enterprises, to drive the way forward. I would call it, let's look at what healthcare can drive from it. Now, emerging use case, in 5G and augmented reality with, say, assisted surgery, we can actually have surgeons depend on these, surgical AR, which is augmented reality, to target surgical, resections in a more very accurate and objective manner, which means you minimize the risk of relapse. And also with AR assisted surgery, you can actually carry out surgical and diagnostic procedures remotely through the use of robotic arms and sensors. And that's where the, sub-millisecond latency is so important. And so on and so forth. If you look at intelligent transportation, it's about, connected cars. It's about maintaining the logistics. It's about maintaining the, vehicles to the optimum levels of productivity with predictive maintenance and online, feedback coming to the system. So all this is extremely dependent on the latency field. Now, if I look at how HP has gathered itself to really help, enterprises, especially because the question is more centered on enterprises, to build some of these vertical use cases, I will call HP's approach to be multi-pronged. Since we have a legacy of working in the telco industry, both on the infrastructure side and the software side for the last 25 to 30 years, we exactly know where we can actually make a lot of difference. So if you break the entire, gamut of requirements of 5G from a infrastructure OEM perspective, I will call it is focusing on 3-4 pillars. Number one could be around the business and the financial models. And that's very, very important because that is going to define whether you can really get the right ROI from deployment of 5G. What is going to be the TCO over the next 3 to 5 years? And I think every business is relied. It's a foundation for a business. I think we have a solution there. Second is around the technology aspects. Now you break the total 5G requirements from technology perspective, whether it is a telco or a private 5G deployment. I think you have to have the right network connectivity, right? And for that, the telcos are putting whatever they can. And we have a NFVI, the infrastructure around the NFV is what we have given to the telcos over the last more than 15 years, coming from 2G, 3G and 4G now. And obviously the disaggregation and the virtualization started only 4 years back, if you look at India. But our experience goes, more than decades. So our ability to literally give those telco validated blueprints, validated designs by working with the system integrators, by working with the NEPs, the likes of Nokia, Ericsson's and Samsung's in the world, and also with the ISVs and cloud players, Red Hat, and other players, we've been able to literally build that platform which is completely risk-free. It is very easy to really deploy, And if you go to the likes of our, customers in the country, all the telcos, all the leading telcos, we command a very high share of the infrastructure there. And you can ask the level of ease with which they're able to deploy my platforms. So we have a lot of learning coming from that NFVI deployments over the last 4-5 years, and our ability to literally go and build a very unique and very, I would say, a vanilla type of a box, which is completely black box for an enterprise. It's very, very high. So we've already launched something called as private 5G. We call it HP core stack, and we call it private 5G in a box, where we try and manage the infrastructure part, the cloud layer by partnering with the likes of Airspan. And we also have, covered the so-called the RAN part. And in the RAN, we have our own, so-called RAN solution, which is built around the open RAN technology, because that is where the future is, completely disaggregated, multi-vendor, and able to, use virtual functions, and everything is software defined there. So we have our own technology. We have a product which fulfills that need, which is DL110 Gen 10 Plus server. And it's actually an end-to-end solution, which is again having blueprints with accelerator cards coming from Intel and the likes of Qualcomm and all, which we already announced a few days back, in fact. And we can build the complete platform end-to-end in a private 5G with the O-RAN piece coming, with the softwares, the hardware, and the manageability piece. So we also have come up with our orchestration solutions, because if you look at the HP's legacy, the software IPs have existed for the last 2 decades, and we are able to today give orchestration solutions for the OSS, right? We also have service assurance, we have eSIM, all these software portfolio. Now, for a enterprise who's looking to grow in the 5G space, they don't want to really get into 100 things. They want to have a peace of mind, simplified approach. So they need a end-to-end solutioning. Now, HP, with this technology prowess, with understanding with the software vendors and known IPs on the software, working with the the ecosystem partners and the ISVs, we are able to build and give everything in a box to a customer. And I personally feel this is where we'll be able to add a lot of value to private 5G deployments. And along with that, we also have our Aruba arm, which is able to integrate Wi-Fi seamlessly with the cellular networks. So we're actually able to integrate them with Wi-Fi 6, which is where I think a lot of people are discussing how we can do a very, very well interconnection between Wi-Fi, say in case of very dense indoor environments and retail shops and those places wherein there's a difficulty for the signal to penetrate. So I think we have an end-to-end story, and enterprises can definitely leverage in a big way from us. Now, coming to the last part, which I discussed first, was around the financial modeling and the business plan around it. Now, it's a risk-full area, whether it's enterprises or telcos, whatever use cases they pick up and start working jointly, I think they will look at how they can bring down the risk. And I think HP has proactively understood that, not now, but I think several years back, and we launched something called as HP GreenLake. Now, it is a pay-per-use and pay-as-you-grow consumption model where you can consume IT, services, software, and the entire ecosystem of 5G with HP's GreenLake offering. Now, it becomes very easy for a customer to decide, I want to deploy a 5G use case tomorrow. Say a Maruti decides, or a Hero decides, or Asian Paints decides, they can buy this box from us. We give end-to-end solution, including services, softwares. We might become the single neck to choke, but for a customer, it becomes a risk-free exercise, and they're only going to invest what they're going to need initially, and they can keep growing and they can keep adding. So pay-as-you-grow model, which is where I think the industry needs that, and HP felt the need, and we have been able to take that lead.
Okay.
That is the way I would want to look at the requirements of enterprises.
Yeah. So thank you. Looks like 5G will be enabling a lot of industries and also a lot of emerging technologies.
Absolutely.
So look forward to that. So, now coming to Vinay Jain, Director, Regional Sales Service Provider Architecture, Cisco India. Now, everybody has spoken about, 4.0, IoTs and all that. I'd like to ask you something about private 5G networks. So can you speak about private 5G networks and their role in the IoT ecosystem and, of course, Industry 4.0?
No, absolutely. So I think we already heard Dr. Said talking about the infrastructure transformation which is happening, which is in preparation to all these 5G, private 5G use cases to be exploited. Mr. Sunil talked about how the whole hyperscaling aspect will be from Bharat point of view. We already have a stated policy from government or stated mission from government to go to a 5 trillion economy, which means, and we have been, I'll say, like, we are very fortunate to be in a time where we have best of the combination of technology enablers, as well as some of those global shifts from the supply chain point of view, etc., which is kind of putting us into the best position to really leverage all these technology enablers and really leapfrog, to achieve that stated mission of the government. So I think everything you talked about, Sunil, Dr. Said, and Himanshu, all that is very relevant. It's our collective prerogative to make sure that we simplify the whole offering so that it is easy for everybody to consume in the marketplace, whether it is operator or the end customers, vertical segments, or area enterprises, right? So that's something which is I think the need is well established. Everybody understands that, and everybody is really driving towards making that happen. So and again, since 5G happened quite extensively across the globe, all that becomes available to us. There are a lot of learnings which we have gone through, our industry has gone through, and those things are getting baked into the way solutions are being offered, right? Whether it is a 5G, private 5G, or how it kind of enables the whole industry 4.0 ecosystem. So if you look at industrial IoT operations, what they expect is faster and more secure and easier to deploy access technologies. This demand is very clear, and I can tell you going forward, we'll see more and more businesses using it as a competitive advantage in their marketplace. This is especially true for enterprises with increasing complex infrastructures, where need for them to be very efficient in their outcomes is paramount, right? So this is given, and everybody will really go for it. As I said, we are in a very good sweet spot to really be able to leverage with those underlying enablers. As wireless technology evolved to provide enhanced throughput, better latency, and reliability based on the whole concept of 5G, which Himanshu touched upon, industrial IoT decision makers must learn how best to leverage and deploy the technology in their infrastructure. Otherwise, they are all going to be really disadvantaged in terms of their competitive positioning in the marketplace. What we see is businesses across the globe are kind of collectively investing close to $4.3 trillion in information technology to digitize business informations to take advantage of cloud transformed industrial efficiencies, right? So that's a massive investment which is happening across the globe, realizing the efficiencies which cloud transformed technologies are offering to them. Similarly, they are investing close to $34 billion today in operational technology to digitize their business operations through wireless and IoT connectivity for improved productivity. Right. So these are the two aspects where the major investments are happening. But where we see the most advantage coming is at the convergence of IT and OT, the information technology and the operational technology. Where we have when we look at that convergence, it allows us for advanced analytics and automation to produce massive gains in productivity and efficiency. And all the early adopters across the globe of private 5G are already benefiting from these gains. So we have already seen across the globe operators and vertical segments realizing these benefits as the early adopters. If you look at technology specifically today, like low latency in a closed loop use case is handled through wired technology based on Ethernet time sensitive networking standards or local computing, right? This is how it is being utilized today. For example, in an automated guided vehicle environment on a shop floor, on a industrial floor, if it detects a human, it has to stop immediately. It cannot rely on communication media to prevent that kind of accidents. So the local computing becomes very, very critical for such use cases or such deployment initiatives. So a mix of local computing is also that which plays a key role here. Just talking about 5G, and Himanshu touched upon this. 3GPP release 16 defines URLLC, which is ultra reliable low latency communication standards, which requires less than 5 millisecond per Mbps stream. Obviously the stretch goal or target is 1 millisecond per 1 Mbps stream. So that's the kind of target they're working towards. In private 5G industrial deployments, this is expected to lead industrial innovation in process control and automation. So we will continuously see more and more adoption of this as we move forward. 3GPP and 5G Alliance for Connected Industrial and Industries and Automation, which is basically 5G AICA Forum, are now evaluating how this TSN, the whole time-sensitive networking technologies a standard could help on such wireless technologies and use cases, right? So release 16 is kind of right now defining more specific features and capabilities for URLLC. And also it is expected that 3G release 17 will further provide detailed coverage on use cases and further refinement of standards related to URLLC. So from industry prerogative or industry initiative point of view, I think everybody realizes those aspects, and they're all kind of working towards more and more refinement on those aspects. We clearly see a massive opportunity in front of us as far as private 5G is concerned, and how it is going to enable the whole industry 4.0 revolution.
Yeah, thank you. Looking forward to those benefits accruing to us all. So actually we are almost out of time, but maybe we can have like one parting sentence. If you can just all of you in one sentence, what do you think is the one big 5G cloud game changer that will emerge in the future? So maybe just 4 ideas, 4 sentences from all of you, just in any order.
I'll take that. Indeed, it's a very interesting question. Actually, 5G definitely a major boon to edge applications that we have already discussed. It also creates lots of collaborations, like Yota collaborated with the DCIX very recently. Those kind of collaborations with the telcos and indeed data center and cloud providers as a service is going to be very much blurred, being edge service providers kind of. It also must be noted that the edge applications will become more dominant. Cloud will be, of course, unifying component. So, of course, there will be an orchestration layer we need to build within the cloud to support the edge edges across globe or edges across India, whatever you say. It will play, of course, cloud will play a central role in an organizational digital infrastructure. We are seeing this happen in the form of growing cloud native platforms already. While there is a rise of smarter edge, it can't operate. Of course, it can't operate its own. Cloud is the overreaching platform that connects everything together. That's my point of view.
Cloud is a great unifier.
Absolutely. No, I agree with Dr. Said. And as clearly, cloud is the way which the cloud is what is going to drive the whole innovation ecosystem, right? So you'll see much more wider set of ecosystem of innovations which will be driven over cloud, and technology consumption through cloud will get simplified. For a faster adoption, time to market kind of thing is going to be again pushed very rapidly across the verticals. I see this is a big game changer coming our way.
So while there is a lot of benefits that has been spoken about, I think cloudification of network will also be one of the key things that we will be able to see in the very short span of time. And while we talk to a lot of our customers, we figure out that especially those in the gaming or those in that kind of an industry which requires the widespread easy access mode, it's here to stay and grow is what we've seen. And we believe that multiple use cases which are currently on paper will see rapid deployments as well as outcome-based, positive business case-based proof of concepts to be rolled out in the near future because of the kind of triangulation that we've mentioned earlier.
Thanks, Sudhir. So Himanshu, you have the last word. You can.
I'll stick it to one sentence. I will possibly put it: who wins the race? And just to explain that a bit, see, hyperscalers and the digital service providers, which are our telecom operators, are having a big, future strategy which is going to be tested. So today it's a day of cooperation and competition. So they are going to compete also. They're going to work together also. But who wins the race is going to be the real money spinner in the long run. I would be very happy to understand and see and maybe come back and discuss after 5 years and see who won the race. Because with the type of paychecks they have, the type of pockets they have, hyperscalers are there, which the edge data centers, edge computing proliferating, expected to do hugely in the next 3 to 4 years. It will be very important to say how the digital service providers and operators build their value in the entire value chain, and can they really compete in that space, or they become behind the hyperscalers and they take the lead with the enterprises and the overall market. So that is one thing which I would want to look forward to.
So those are very interesting comments. So I'd like to thank the panel for a very informative and forward-looking discussion. And I guess finally 5G, we're looking forward to some really exciting times. So thank you everyone for those.
Thank
insights.
you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks
a lot.
Bye, everybody.
It's a great
Thank you,
journey.
everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, speakers, for such an informative session.